Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz, and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my Facebook page, where this whole thing began, as well. All relevant links are in the description below, and of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of the characters featured in my stories, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Alrighty then. So, welcome. And what is up, Buttercup? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Whichever your answer, please allow me to distract you from your life and tell you a story, a Simsational story. Before I begin though, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with, let's go. Today's story is from the Commune of Ohana Hale, and we're at chapter 5. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So without further ado. Without a wayward teenager in their midst, the members of Ohana Hale soon felt their vibes quickly slip back into a more peaceful cohabitative frequency that had once been their only setting. As they had now learnt the hard way, life on their beautiful little commune definitely wasn't for everyone. But for them it was home, and a wonderful home at that. Founder Lucas Pointer had recently gotten into renovating the property to be more eco-friendly. He was determined to get the commune to be entirely self-sufficient. He had installed solar panels on their utility buildings, bought water collectors, built an insect farm, and was learning about candle making. His passion wasn't limited to the environment. Lucas threw himself as wholeheartedly into his relationship with partner Nina Varela as he did his commune and conservation job. He was the kind of man who had boundless energy and a zest for life that was infectious, and he made elderly Nina feel young again. In fact, it was through Lucas that Nina had rediscovered her own passion for life. Since moving on to the commune, she had begun to paint, swim, and cook. She always said that he had brought her back to life, and it was true. Before she'd met Lucas and moved to Ohana Hale with him, her life had been almost empty, save for her son and grandson. Nina's son Alejandro had been widowed just weeks after his son Angelo was born, and although he'd been in a haze of grief when he first arrived at Ohana Hale, his time on the island community had slowly brought him back to life. He and Nina were often found concocting various potions from the fresh herbs grown in the commune's garden. When not caring for his son or practicing his magic, Alejandro was taking yoga and spiritual instruction from Floria Levesque, the commune's den mother type. She had devoted much of her adult life outside of childcare to introspection and had far more wisdom and lessons to offer than Alejandro had at first realized. But as time had gone on, he had really learnt to respect her wisdom and advice. Floria knew what it was like to feel as if your whole life and duty was consumed by your child and their needs. She had felt the same way when Aliana was first born. But Alejandro needed to let go a little, to learn to balance his own needs against his child's, so as to become a more whole person and parent. Floria suggested to Alejandro that he allow her to babysit sometimes, since she was already home, and go out and get a life of his own. It had been almost a year since his wife had died, and it was high time he realised that he hadn't died with her. Dominique wouldn't want this for him, this empty existence without love or life. Suddenly, Floria brought up Kailani Lunalillo. She'd seen how Alejandro had looked at the young conservationist back at Sunflower's welcome party. There had been chemistry there. Floria had seen it then, and she wanted to encourage it as much as possible. She knew how hard it was for Alejandro, but it was time he moved on. Alejandro knew he felt something undeniable for the beautiful young island woman. He remembered feeling it at that party and trying to ignore it. She was kind and unassuming, accepting him in a heartbeat, and with Floria's encouragement, Alejandro began to wonder, could his broken heart learn to love again? Kailani was fascinating. She was a passionate conservationist whose work took her all over Sulani, and Alejandro fell in love with her almost without realizing. They hadn't even gone on one date, and he was smitten beyond comprehension. The devotion she showed to the planet was inspiring, and he wondered if he could even distract her from it. Would she be interested in him? Alejandro first asked if Floria would agree to babysit. Floria was more than happy to help. She loved seeing Alejandro light up the way he did about Kailani. He had been so sad for so long. He not only needed this, he deserved this. Dominique was dead, and she would want Alejandro to move on and live life fully without her. Floria loved looking after baby Angelo anyway. After Dominique had died, Alejandro had fallen into a deep depression, and it was during this period when he and his mother had moved to Ohana Hale. Floria had often taken care of the infant before, considering any child on the commune her business almost as a second nature. With his son safely taken care of, Alejandro asked Kailani to meet him at a coffee shop in Windenburg. He told her then that she was the first woman to have caught his eye since his wife had died, and he wanted to take things slowly, if she didn't mind. He hadn't dated in many years, and if truth was told, he wasn't entirely sure he was ready. He just felt something for her, so irresistible that he couldn't wait either. Kailani was quick to reassure Alejandro. She had never really expected any of this to happen. She'd known he was a widower with a baby son, and although she'd been attracted to him, very attracted, she thought privately, when they first met, she hadn't thought anything could happen between them, possibly for many months, if at all. He had asked her out, though, and she had wanted to say yes. That first date between them was like no other. It was as if they were made for each other. They had similar, although not quite the same, tastes in most things, disagreed strongly, but respectfully a few times, laughed often, and had an almost overwhelming amount of physical chemistry. They discovered that they had often been in the same places over the years at ever so slightly different times, and even had a few long-term mutual friends. Even though he had set out trying to do the right thing and take things slowly, during their supposed hug goodbye, Alejandro found that he just didn't want to let go. And when he looked into her eyes, Kailani suddenly lost control of herself and kissed him hard on the mouth, and he kissed her right back just as hard. In that moment, Alejandro let go of all pretense and gave in entirely to his heart. Alone at Kailani's that night, there were no other sounds except one another's breath, the wind and the distant waves crashing on the beach. They stared into each other's eyes with naked vulnerability and found within one another a reassuring yet firm softness. Love, that true and inescapable, meant-to-be kind of love. It felt like they were in a movie. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 5 of the Commune of Ohana Hale. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. Or like I said, look us up on Facebook. Bye!